Welcome to Trust the Code, the Alkebuleum podcast exploring African digital sovereignty, identity, institutions, and the future of trust. For many people, blockchain still sounds like speculation. But beneath the noise, there's a much more important question. Can blockchain help real institutions verify identity, protect records, coordinate across borders, and build trust at scale?
Yeah, that's really the critical question, and it sets the exact stage for our mission in this deep dive today. We are unpacking the Alkebuleum white paper to reveal what blockchain's true utility actually is. I mean, it is not about the hype you see in the news,
That's
right?
definitely not.
Exactly. And it is certainly not about tokens or, rapid wealth generation. It's really about building a foundational digital trust layer for governments, banks, and civil society across the African continent and its diaspora. So the guiding principle we have to keep returning to today is this. Blockchain is most powerful when it serves real-world trust. Not hype, not speculation, but identity, records, institutions, finance, ownership, and accountability.
Which is such a refreshing perspective to hear. Let's look under the hood right from the start. Because the disconnect out there is, well, it's massive. You say the word blockchain to almost anyone, and their mind immediately jumps to, I don't know, volatile charts, anonymous traders, or obscure digital art.
Oh, absolutely. That is the immediate association for most people.
Right. But when you dive into the source material we are examining today, the Alkebuleum white paper, it paints a completely different landscape. It focuses on ministries, universities, and central banks. It entirely bypasses that crypto stereotype to focus on the heavy lifting that institutions actually do.
It does. And to really understand that shift in focus, we have to look at what actually makes a modern economy function in the first place. We tend to think of an economy as factories or natural resources or shipping ports.
Yeah, the tangible things.
Exactly, the physical infrastructure. But beneath all of that, every modern economy runs on trust infrastructure. We are talking about the mechanisms that prove things are true. Identity systems, academic credentials, professional licenses, land titles.
Right, the invisible glue holding it all together.
Precisely. Payments, public procurement records, credit bureaus. These are the foundational records that allow capital to flow safely. I mean, think about it. When you buy a piece of land, you need absolute certainty the person selling it actually owns it.
You definitely do not want to get that wrong.
No, you don't. And when you hire an engineer, you need to know their degree is real and hasn't been fabricated.
Imagine you've just spent 4 years earning an engineering degree in Ghana. You get an amazing job offer in Kenya, but when you cross the border, that Kenyan employer has no streamlined, verifiable way to confirm your degree is legitimate. The plumbing is just broken.
The plumbing is severely fragmented. Across many regions, disconnected institutional databases create massive friction. They often rely on paper records or entirely siloed digital systems that simply cannot speak to one another.
That's all boxed in.
Yes. And because they are siloed, they are highly vulnerable to manipulation. This leads to severe delays, fraud, duplication of effort, and incredibly weak accountability.
Or imagine you are a small business owner in Nigeria. You have spent a decade building a flawless credit history, paying back every loan on time. You decide to expand your operations into a neighboring country, and the moment you cross that border, your credit history effectively vanishes.
It just resets to zero.
Exactly. You are forced to start from scratch just because the databases in the two countries don't communicate.
And those are the real measurable economic costs.
Yeah.
When we talk about friction, we are talking about millions of people being held back from participating fully in the economy because their verifiable truth is trapped inside a local, disconnected database.
Hold on, though. I have to play devil's advocate for a second here. If a university or credit bureau already has a massive database of all its records, isn't it faster and cheaper to just upgrade their servers or, give other institutions API access? Why inject this entirely new architectural layer? Why blockchain?
That is a very fair question. And honestly, it is the exact hurdle most institutional leaders face when evaluating this technology. Yes, a traditional centralized database is very fast, and it's relatively cheap to operate.
Right, they've been doing it for decades.
Exactly. But it has a critical flaw. It is isolated, and it requires absolute trust in a single administrator.
I see where you're going with this.
Yeah, if a central authority controls the database, they can alter it, they can delete records, or simply deny access to whoever they want. And more importantly, a traditional database cannot easily prove its own integrity to an outside party.
Because it's a closed system.
Right. A Kenyan employer has no way of knowing if the Ghanaian university's database was hacked or quietly edited by an administrator. Blockchain doesn't just store data, It solves the trust gap between different databases.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it isn't about replacing a university's internal student database at all.
Not at all.
It is about how that university proves the validity of its records to a bank or an employer or a foreign government without demanding blind faith.
That is the fundamental shift. It creates a shared source of truth without requiring every single institution, whether that is a central bank, a university, or a national land registry, to surrender control to one central, overarching continental database.
Which no sovereign nation would ever agree to anyway.
Exactly, never. The Alkebuleum white paper describes this as enabling coordination without subordination.
Coordination without subordination. I really like that phrase.
It's powerful, right? Institutions maintain their sovereignty, but they all agree on a shared, mathematically verified record of events. There is no single point of capture.
No single point of capture. Which brings up the power of public verifiability. This completely changes the power dynamic for you, the listener. Because, I mean, if you hold a Liberian land title or a professional license to practice medicine, you shouldn't have to wait weeks and pay exorbitant fees to a middleman just to prove to someone else that your document is real.
You really shouldn't. It's a massive drag on productivity.
Yeah, so the blockchain allows anyone, anywhere, to instantly verify the cryptographic proof of that record. It is sort of like moving from a world where everyone keeps their own personal, easily altered ledger hidden in their office, to a world where there is a shared, locked filing cabinet in the town square.
That's a great way to visualize it.
Right, everyone can see the cabinet, but you still need the right authority to put a file inside.
Exactly. The cabinet is entirely public. I mean, anyone can walk up and see that a file exists and hasn't been tampered with. But only the authorized party, like the university or the land registry, holds the cryptographic key to place a new mathematically signed file into it.
But wait a minute. If we were restricting the actual validation of these records to established central banks and universities, aren't we just handing the keys right back to the exact same gatekeepers blockchain was supposed to bypass? I mean, who guards the cabinet?
Yeah, that's the classic critique. And this is where we really have to draw a sharp contrast between anonymous public blockchains and public permission infrastructure.
Okay, break that down for us.
Well, in the anonymous model, the one securing most cryptocurrencies, the validators are unknown entities. They just happen to hold a lot of computing power or capital.
Right, random server farm somewhere.
Exactly. But when you are dealing with state infrastructure, like birth certificates or national procurement, you cannot rely on anonymous validators. Institutions matter in this context. They provide the necessary regulatory and societal credibility.
Because they have actual skin in the game.
Precisely. And this is why Alkebuleum utilizes a model called PRA, which stands for Proof of Reputation and Authority.
So under PRI, it's less like anonymous miners competing for digital gold and more like, say, a medical board.
Yeah.
If a doctor signs off on a fake prescription, they don't just lose a small financial bonus, they lose their license to practice. The collateral is their entire career.
That is a perfect analogy, and here is where the math actually backs up that analogy. Under PRA, validation is restricted entirely to reputable institutions whose real-world reputations are literally on the line. Yeah, if a prominent university or a central bank validates a fraudulent block of data on this network, it is not just a technical penalty. Every block they validate is stamped with their unique cryptographic signature.
So they can't hide.
They absolutely cannot hide. If they try to alter a record retroactively, the mathematics of the blockchain will instantly highlight that their specific signature approved the fraud. It creates an undeniable, permanent, and mathematically proven record of their corruption for the entire world to see.
That is heavy. You are using centuries of built-up, real-world institutional trust as the collateral to secure a digital network.
Yes, exactly.
And looking at the sources, this shared African trust layer is being built by a coalition of the very entities that already facilitate civic life. We're talking universities, central and commercial banks, government agencies, telecommunications regulators, fintechs, and major diaspora institutions.
Which directly answers your earlier concern about recreating a monopoly. This is what we mean by public but permissioned.
Ah, public but permission.
Right. Anyone can read the ledger, they can verify the data, and they can build applications on top of the network. The public verifiability remains absolute.
But the writing is restricted.
Yes. What is permissioned is solely the production of blocks. It ensures the network is aligned with regulatory oversight from its inception, rather than trying to retrofit compliance onto an anonymous system years down the road.
That makes a lot of sense. Let's strip away the jargon for a moment, though, and look at how this actually works for the people building on it.
Hmm.
The white paper dives into the architecture and emphasizes something called EVM compatibility.
Right, EVM. So EVM stands for the Ethereum Virtual Machine. Think of it as the global operating system for smart contracts.
Okay.
Alkebuleum chose to be EVM compatible so that developers can build with familiar tools.
Because you don't want to reinvent the wheel.
Exactly. If a developer in Nairobi or Lagos already knows how to write smart contracts in Solidity, which is the main programming language of Ethereum, they don't have to learn a completely new proprietary language to build applications on Alkebuleum.
It's like a nation choosing to drive on the right side of the road, because that's the global standard, while still keeping complete sovereign control over its own highways and traffic laws.
That's spot on.
You get to use the exact same global toolkits, but you are deploying them on sovereign, African-owned infrastructure.
That is the strategic brilliance of it. The technical roads are standardized so that the vast global ecosystem of builders can immediately plug in, but the governance, the validators, and the protocol direction are controlled locally.
Let's weave all of this together by going back to that Nigerian small business owner we talked about earlier. Instead of walking through the protocols like a technical manual, let's look at how she actually navigates this new infrastructure.
I like that approach. Let's make it practical.
Right. So she wants to expand her business across the border,
Yeah.
and she needs to prove who she is, prove she has a valid business license, and secure a cross-border loan. How does this system handle step one? Proving her identity without putting all her private data at risk.
This is where the identity protocol comes in, and it utilizes something called zero-knowledge cryptography, or ZK cryptography.
ZK cryptography. Sounds very sci-fi.
It does, but it's incredibly practical. It allows her to prove statements about her identity, like, say, the fact that she is a registered citizen over the age of 18 without actually surrendering her underlying private data.
Like her specific birth date or national ID number.
Exactly. The foreign bank never sees that raw data.
ZK cryptography is a brilliant concept. The best way to visualize it, I think, is the classic Where's Waldo analogy.
Oh, I love this one.
Right. Imagine you and I are looking at a huge Where's Waldo poster. I want to prove to you that I know exactly where Waldo is, but I absolutely refuse to show you his location on the map.
Okay, I'm with you.
So I take a massive piece of black cardboard, cut a tiny Waldo-sized hole in it, and place it over the poster. You look through the hole and see Waldo. You now have mathematical proof that I know where he is, but you still have absolutely zero knowledge of his actual coordinates on the broader map.
That is exactly how the identity protocol functions. She provides a cryptographic proof that her credentials are valid, the foreign bank verifies the proof, but they never get to store or hoard her underlying personal data.
Which is huge for privacy.
It's massive. It enables a privacy-first, self-sovereign identity.
Okay, so she has proven who she is. Step 2.
Yeah.
She needs to prove her business is legitimate and that she has the right permits.
That triggers the institutional records protocol. This takes that same cryptographic verification and applies it to critical real-world documents.
We're talking business licenses, property deeds, university diplomas.
Yes, all anchored on-chain.
Yeah.
But the most powerful application of this protocol right now is actually happening in government transparency.
Really?
Yeah, there is an anti-corruption pilot currently running in Liberia that uses this exact mechanism.
And the mechanics of that pilot are fascinating. If you are tracking public procurement, say, a government is building a new highway, a vendor submits a bid, and the moment it is approved, that document is hashed on the Alkebuleum blockchain.
Exactly. And a hash is essentially a unique digital fingerprint of that document.
Right. Later, when the funds are dispersed, it is checked against that immutable fingerprint.
Think about the mechanics of that. You cannot just quietly edit a cell in an Excel spreadsheet 6 months later to hide where the money went.
No, you can't.
If you change even a single comma in the original document, the digital fingerprint changes entirely. And the blockchain will instantly flag that the record has been altered.
Wow. By anchoring civic procurement records to a public ledger secured by a council of universities and central banks, it becomes mathematically impossible to alter the records after the fact without everyone seeing it.
Which brings unprecedented transparency to public spending.
Okay, so back to our business owner. She's verified her identity. Her business records are cryptographically secured. Step 3, she needs the loan.
Right, and this addresses the credit protocol. The credit protocol takes her years of flawless repayment history in Nigeria and turns it into a portable mathematical asset.
So it's not just stuck in one country.
Exactly. By providing a neutral, privacy-preserving layer for credit ratings, her financial standing travels with her across borders. It stops credit from being locked inside a single national bureau and turns it into a continent-wide asset.
That she can leverage in Kenya, South Africa, or anywhere else on the network.
Precisely.
But let's be realistic about the friction here. If you tell a busy entrepreneur that she needs to interact with a zero-knowledge smart contract on an EVM-compatible blockchain just to get a business loan, she is going to walk the other way.
Oh, without a doubt.
A technical barrier to entry is just too high for the average person.
And that is a massive barrier to adoption across the entire blockchain industry, which is exactly why Alkebuleum integrates Nuru AI.
Okay, what is Nuru AI?
Nuru AI is a sovereign artificial intelligence assistant built natively for this ecosystem. It acts as a translation layer between the complex cryptography and the everyday user.
So she never actually have to interact with a smart contract directly.
Never. Nuru AI operates in plain language, English, French, Swahili, Yoruba, and others. She can simply tell the AI from her phone, I need to verify my business license for a bank in Kenya, or share my credit proof with this lender.
That's simple.
That's simple. The AI understands the intent, translates it into the necessary smart contract interactions, and interfaces with the Alkebuleum protocol seamlessly in the background.
So it entirely removes the steep learning curve associated with the blockchain technology.
Exactly. It makes the plumbing invisible again, which is exactly how good infrastructure should work.
It bridges the gap between high-level cryptography and the reality of daily commerce.
Yeah.
If we pull all of these threads together, the shared truth, the institutional validators, the protocols, what is the ultimate takeaway from our deep dive today?
Well, if we synthesize the entire vision of the white paper, the core insight is this. Blockchain should not replace institutions.
Right.
The narrative that we need to tear down all banks and governments and replace them with anonymous code is, frankly, counterproductive for real societal growth.
It really is.
Instead, blockchain should help existing institutions become more transparent, highly interoperable, and fundamentally more trustworthy.
Making the systems we have work better.
Yes. Alkebuleum is intentionally designed to align with the massive structural shifts already happening on the continent. I'm talking about the African Continental Free Trade Area, the AfCFTA, and the African Union's Agenda 2063.
Those are massive initiatives.
They are. They aim to integrate 1.4 billion people and 54 nations into a cohesive economic bloc. And you simply cannot do that on paper, and you certainly cannot do that on disconnected databases.
No, you need a unifying layer.
Exactly. You need a verifiable, sovereign substrate, a ledger of trust built by Africa, governed by the institutions Africa already trusts.
The future of blockchain in Africa should not be measured only by token prices or trading activity. It should be measured by whether it helps institutions serve people better, verify truth faster, and build systems Africa can own and trust.
And as you think about what that means for the road ahead, consider this. Imagine a future where your reputation, your hard work, and your credibility are no longer trapped within the borders of a single country, but become a mathematical passport to the entire continent's economy. What becomes possible when trust is finally borderless?